Hey Star Wars fans, so I have a lightsaber review today, and it's kind of a special one because it's for my son and he and I installed it together. So check it out. This is the One Replica's SSPK Plo Koon, which looks nothing like this from One Replica's. In fact, let me insert a picture here. So you can see it's more of like a raw aluminum look. The emitter is, a bit more of a polished look to it. It's a little shinier, but there's no black filled in anywhere or blue filled in anywhere, so it's just, pretty raw. So anyway, I ordered that from One Replica. It's pretty cool. Hilt. I like it. The pommel's a little funky on it because it doesn't, you can't unscrew it. You have to do it like a, you have to do it like a rotary phone. So like you put something in one of the holes and then you can twist it out. So, that part's a little funky. He did send it with, One Replicas did send it with some black like stickers that you can put in these pieces. But what me and my son did is we painted it with alcohol ink. So we went to the hobby store and I got some turquoise blue alcohol ink, loaded it in the airbrush gun, and my son just kind of, sprayed it up and down until everything was turquoise blue at the top. And then we took a paper towel, wiped it with some isopropyl alcohol, and then just, cleaned the top of it off. And that took all of the blue off where we didn't want it. And the rest of it stayed in there really nicely. So that will come off if I ever get isopropyl alcohol on there, which I'm not so worried about. If I sealed it with like a clear coat or something, it'd be fine. But anyway, I'm not worried about that coming off. And then we did the same thing on the rest of the hilt with black alcohol ink. So we filled in all of the rings, all of this little stuff even. Just filled everything with black and then wiped away the areas with alcohol that we didn't want the black to stay, and that worked out really, really good. And I especially love that turquoise blue at the top. It looks so neat. I know I've seen a couple images where this is blue and sometimes it's silver, and anyway, the Disney Parks one has it blue at the top, so I just thought, I like that. That's cool. So that's what we went with. But yeah, so that's the hilt. It is a 2-button. I'm having a little trouble with one of the buttons. I need to get some Loctite on here so I can basically unscrew it just like a millimeter or so and then get it to stay there. But for the time being, I just have it in a single button setup, but it will be a 2-button setup. So that's the saber. And yeah, so the chassis though, you gotta check this out. This is so super cool. You may have seen some videos in the past where I installed the 01 hilt from the Saber Merchant, and in that video I actually have Jeremy, the Saber Merchant, walking me through the install. So anyway, I reached out to him and I said, hey, I got this SSPK for my kiddo, and I want to install it for him, and I don't want easy mode this time, just send me the parts and I want to do it all, but I'm having some trouble finding a chassis. At the time, so One Replicas, I don't think they even announced the hilt. It just, all of a sudden it was there and I ordered it as soon as I saw it. And so anyway, I couldn't find a chassis for it, so I said, I don't suppose you could help me out in designing a chassis. And he's like, yeah, absolutely. Send me the hilt if you don't mind, and I'll measure it all up and I'll do something cool for it. So that's this. And there's just a couple of really neat things here. So Jeremy knocked this out of the park. So it is set up with a Golden Harvest V3 board in there. We got the stock MPXL V3 connector, I think it's called, which I didn't have any of the pins pre-soldered or anything, so we did it all. And so anyway, I made a couple of mistakes doing the install. Like for example, I put 2 of the same color wire in the speaker, not realizing one was positive, one was negative. So later on I had to like pull stuff apart and try to figure things out, but it went really good. But the best part about the install, there's not going to be a YouTube video, is because I installed it with my son. I did take like one little clip of him soldering, and I'll throw that in here. But the idea was just hang out with my son and enjoy the father and son moment and install a lightsaber together. And I could not believe how quick he picked up like the soldering and stuff. And so when we started, I was doing the soldering, and he would cut the wires for me, and then he would, expose the end of the wire, and then at one point he asked if he could do the pre-tinning, and I was like, well, buddy, it's a 500 degree iron, like it's dangerous, it's very dangerous, and he's 8, and he's like, yeah, Dad, but I'll be careful. And I was like, okay. So anyway, I did give him the soldering iron. And so he took some solder and he pre-tinned the wire, and I was like, okay, all right, you're pretty good at that. And we kept going, and then it came time to solder all the wires onto the soundboard. And he's like, Dad, when can I do it? And I'm like, okay, why don't you pre-tin all the pads? And that's what that video was. So he pre-tinned all the pads. It looked amazing. And I was like, okay, you're doing pretty good. Why don't you try holding, this wire here and see if you can warm it up and get that wire to stay on there. And he just did it. Like he just like that. So anyway, proud dad moment. It's just so cool, so happy. But anyway, back to the chassis. So we have, my son did request a Jedi Order logo on here, and Jeremy put that on there. But my favorite thing, so we got a recessed area over here for the switches. And I know Jeremy said that he's going to make this chassis available on his Etsy store. So if you're looking for a chassis for SSPK, or if you're just looking for someone to design a chassis, hit up Jeremy from the Saber Merchant on Etsy. But so anyway, there's a 24 millimeter speaker, 2 switches, and the MPXL. What else? Oh, my favorite part. So I was asking him, how do we make this so that it's kind of like idiot proof? Just because like I've had some super stunts, and it's like you kind of have to get the chassis just in the right spot, and then sometimes it's a little turned, and then you have to take it out, put it back in. Anyway, so I said, is there any way to make it so it's just only one way? So what he did is he replaced the screw in the Covertech so that it's a little longer and protruding on the inside of the saber. And then he created this channel.
3, 2, 1.
He created this channel going up the chassis and then ends right there. And what's so cool about that is it will only go in one way, and then when it hits the screw, that's where it stops. And sure enough, that's where the switches line up perfectly with the holes in the saber. And then the hilt also has a retention screw low enough where you can use it for chassis retention. So yeah, it worked out really well. Super happy with this chassis, and just super happy that I've made this new friend, Jeremy the Saber Merchant. You rock, dude. I appreciate you so much. I hate to admit it, I did have to call him a couple times to be like, hey, how do you do this? And like, for example, I had 2 blue wires on my speaker, and I called him, and he's like, did you notice the red dot on the back of the speaker? Yeah, that's your negative side. And I was like, oh, okay. Anyway, only my second install, but it went very well. So anyway, Jeremy, I appreciate you. So let's go ahead and throw this in and fire this bad boy up. And there we go. So as far as the sound font goes, I'm sure there's a Plo Koon font out there. I didn't do any research, but I have the Hero Pack from Kyberphonic, which is like your basic Jedi hum, and it comes with a couple different quotes from different characters. And so anyway, I found a clip of Plo Koon from the Clone Wars, and I hit up Jesse, and I was like, hey, if you don't mind, would you maybe clean this up and turn it into a font boot up for me? And so he did, and he sent that back to me. So anyway, this is the Hero Pack I just happened to change out a couple of the quotes for some Plo Koon quotes that I found. But so anyway, we'll go ahead and select a font.
Sound menu.
We can do this the difficult way or the simple way. The choice is yours.
There we go. SSPK.
Surrender. No one will be harmed if you come quietly. Surrender. No one will be harmed if you come quietly. Otherwise, you have already lost and you don't even know it.
Yeah, I love this. This is so cool. One Replicas SSPK installed by Declan and Elvis. So that's all I wanted to share today. I just thought this thing was so cool. My son thinks it's very cool. He loves it. He wants to put all Jedi Council member fonts on here, which I think is a pretty fun idea. But yeah, that's all I got for today. Just a short, quick video. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for checking out this awesome hilt. And yeah, may the Force be with you all. We'll see you in the next one.